Now, what I did next is I said, well, all this stuff on this side will never ever be known from a statistical standpoint. I'll never know those things, will I? Why? I'll never know those things behind the, there's a little ghetto that's behind the curtain now. Why will I never know that whole entire column? Because Emily, you can only look at your sample of your population, of the population itself, right? So you'll never know what your actual population average is, or population standard deviation, or the percentage above a half, or the skew, or the whatever. Nor will you know the 6 values. So here's what I did in this spreadsheet. I made the spreadsheet be a statistician. Actually, I made the spreadsheet be 216 statisticians. 216 statisticians. Why 216? Anybody have any idea how the number 6 became 216? It's okay if you don't. This is a bastard 243 question. If you roll 3 dice, how many total ways can those 3 dice fall?
I'm guessing 216.
216. Why? John, go.
6 times 6 times
6 times 6 times 6 for the outcomes. Yes, you don't get 6 times 6 times 6. So if I was to go into that population and randomly select with replacement 3 elements from it, there'd be 216 total ways to do that. So what I did in Excel is I actually made Excel do that. I made it select every single possible sample of size 3 from that population. You can't see them. That's what, remember those little green flags that I turned off before? All those green flags were pointing to a sample of size 3. So I had 216 samples times 9 for all 9 of those measures I was measuring. So what's that? That's like 2,000 samples that are all hidden behind the sheets. That's good. I don't want you looking at them. Please don't look at them. What I want you to look at are those 9 graphs up there. Those 9 graphs represent the actual measures of the sample and each of those measures. So this first one right here, this average, you see those little blue diamonds that are in there? Each of those blue diamonds is one of the 216 sample averages plotted on a line graph from 0 to 1, in this case, from 0 to 1. If you press F9, you'll get a new set of samples. Oh, more spread out that time, more spread out. There's another set of samples. Sam, see what's happening? Every time I re-randomize the population, I get 216 more numbers. Why are they all over the place, friends? Why are they all over the place? What's going on with that? Why are they so spread out? Why don't we just land at the population average every single time? Go ahead, be brave. Because sometimes we draw samples that are just, on average, too small or too big. For example, suppose you throw a pair of dice, one time, and try to guess what the average for a pair of dice is. Now from 243, what's the average from a pair of dice? If you throw a pair of dice and look for the sum, remember what the average sum is on a pair of dice? 7, because that's the most common roll. If you throw snake eyes on the first roll, you're going to think it's much lower, right? If you try to base on a sample of size 1, you're going to think snake eyes is more normal. So sometimes you do get either low or high, but you see how quite a bit of those are hovering near the middle of the cluster? Yeah. 216 sample averages, 216 sample medians. Some of you might be wondering, if there's 216, why are there like 6 dots up there? Anybody have an answer for that? Why there's only 6 dots when there should be 216 dots? Technically speaking, there are 216 dots, but some of them are duplicates stacked on top. And I cannot figure out how to make Excel show me that. I want to have Excel actually show that, and I can't figure out how to do it yet. To have a histogram that's stacked on top of a line graph. It doesn't seem to want to do that, but that's okay. So there are 216 dots here, 216 dots here, 216 different measures of the mode, 216 skews, 216 standard deviations, variances, ranges, proportions. That's kind of a boring one. If you think about the percentage of that could be bigger than a half, there's only a certain number of percentages it can be. Like you can't have like 12%. And average deviations. And if you press the F9 button, they just keep re-randomizing, 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 and so forth and so on and so forth. Okay? Now, I want you to now think about that little red square that's under the blue dots. What does the legend say that little red square is? Yes.